One area that seems to be heating up is the truck industry, and you can note that by all the changes that are happening. And well, one option is behind me. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now this week we test out the all-new 2019 Chevy Silverado, and with that comes some enhancement, some refinement, and well, just some basic changes. Refinement may be the big term to use when describing the 2019 Silverado. After all, Chevy's not reinventing the truck silhouette, but pretty much giving a polish to its overall design. And where it starts is at the four corners comparative to last year. Now for 2018, what you saw are strong lines here at the four corners, really breaking up, segmenting the overall look. That compared to what you see here with more of a fluid body line flow. Now what I like is it has a nice implied ridge line. There's just a little hint of edginess here, but as you sweep forward and really look at those four corners, there's just no blockiness there. It's really just nice and fluid. One thing you will see is this nice implied line right here, giving it just a little bit of flow and well, implied curviness. So the Silverado comes in three models, either the regular cab that can be equipped to either a 6.5 foot bed or an 8-foot bed, the double cab like you see here that comes standard with the 6.5 foot, or the crew cab, which is going to be equipped with either a 5 foot 8-inch bed or the 6.5 foot bed. Now the crew cab definitely will give you a little bit more interior volume there for the second row, but what's great is its overall size isn't that much bigger than what you see here. The reason for that is when you go to the crew cab, if you go standard with the 5 foot 8-inch bed, those numbers are pretty much identical to what you see here. It's only when you go to the 6.5 foot bed on the crew cab that does it creep up by about 10 inches, but that truly still is drivable even by the novice. Now for the numbers like you see here, what you're going to have is around about 147-inch wheelbase. Overall stretch is about 231. Now some other numbers to think about is the width. Now it's pushing about 81 inches wide, and that takes a little bit of commanding on the road and definitely has some prowess in the tight spot, so it takes a little bit of kind of getting used to. What's great, of course, is the parking sensors and all the radar-like feel that allows you to exactly know when you're getting close. Last number is overall height, around about 75 inches. Swing around to the front end, Grille warfare used to be a simple and easy conversation. What's happening right there front and center, pointing out the other accents that help take the design to the next level. But as of late, there's something that's making the Grille warfare take a back seat, and that is the headlight design. Now we've talked about it as of late and really kind of the detriment in the truck industry in this area. What I'm referring to is the competition that is kind of delivering too much in this area. Really the vertical stack, the huge amount of light that's being cast down the road, great for the driver but horrible for anyone coming at it. And you'll see it in the competition but not here on the Silverado, and I give it an A+ in this area. And where it starts is really in this area right here. A nice minimal, very simple vertical stack here in the upper portion. 3-beam like design, not dynamic, doesn't sweep through the curb, but really gives you plenty of throw. And it only took this much height to do that. That versus some of the others that are just a huge amount of offering. Heck, you know when those vehicles are behind you because you got to flip the rearview mirror and turn the side mirrors out because it's just a blinding affair. The Silverado does not do that. However, they do still deliver some design, basically in the form of this little accent light here. Again, that's not blinding, just a little bit of touch. Now, as for the overall look, what's great, of course, is we're going to bling it out with some nice chrome. If you go with other packages, they're going to subdue that just a little bit. This is the LT, so bling it out with a lot of chrome up front. Do have some safety up here in the form of some nice sensors, really allowing this vehicle to have a radar-like feel getting to those tight spots. Before we dive into the headlight assembly, let's look at this grille a little bit closer and the amount of airflow it allows. Really a broad offering all the way across the front end of the Silverado, again accented in chrome. Now as you sweep over here to the right, you'll also notice this outer niche allowing the air to sweep across to the right and dump out there in the wheel wells. Lastly, again, is the headlight assembly, kind of a 3-beam approach with a little bit of bedazzling there in that rope accent. Lastly is a turn signal, which is tucked down low and doesn't compromise the headlight design. One area where some trucks aren't maximizing the perimeter lighting is this offering here at the door in the form of these huge oversized mirrors. Now we've seen it on some of the competition where they do have the turn signal placed here, but that's about all it does, is really alerting other drivers what you're doing. But what the Silverado does well is utilize this amount of acreage and provide some perimeter lighting in the form of this kind of accent right here. Really projects out quite well and illuminates areas that would otherwise be dark. Some of the biggest changes happening in the truck industry are happening here at the back end. No longer is it just about grill warfare, innovations there in the cabin, but also what's happening back here, both in the form of the function of the rear tailgate, safety, and well, some other innovations. And for the Silverado, they do it quite well. First off, with the backup sensors, backup camera, really making trucking so much easier, even for the novice or even for the expert, really allowing you to tow real easy, get coupled up to that trailer with ease, as well as when you're parking, really helps you with that sensibility of knowing what's close and where the impact zones are. Now for Silverado, what they've also done is push the interior cargo walls about as outward as they can go, adding about 7 more inches of width, really taking this cargo to the next level. But what Silverado truly does well is provide innovation when it comes to accessibility and in the tailgate design. Now, not on this particular model, but what we've seen on GM, specifically the GMC Sierra, is really revolutionizing this. What we saw on that was kind of that split rear tailgate that when it tumbles downward, it tumbles again, allowing closer access to the cargo. Now this one's pretty much standard, but what you won't find that standard is here on the outer portion of the rear bumper. Some of the competition, again, just delivering standard options here. And what that means is when you go to access this cargo, you literally have to step up to here. For the Silverado, they have these nice outer niches. That allows for anyone to really put their feet here, climb inside. Now, of course, if the rear tailgate is down, real easy, just press right there. This lowers down with ease. Now, what you'll see is that's kind of an electronic release, no handle there, pretty much releasing it with that button, and it's going to ease down. That versus some of the competition, that's still a banging affair, slamming down. Now, if I need to access this, pretty much put my foot here, climb in. Now, what I saw at the local hardware store was someone that didn't have this option, and they were having a painful time actually getting out of the rear truck bed because this is quite a long step down, and barely this rear bumper helps at all. Now, if you look a bit closer right here, what's great is it's no longer just a single camera. It used to be that we just had kind of a bird's eye, made it, well, easier to back up to your trailer, but it didn't really pinpoint any issues, well, just with the maneuverability. But what's great is, well, the truck industry is, well, going to the next level. What you'll see here is 2 backup cameras. It really gives you a diversity when it comes to, well, angling in and your approach, backing in into any tight spots, and of course, when you're coupling up to the trailer. Now, for trailability, what you're going to have is 2 connection points, basically the standard 4-pin or the multi-pin, the bigger option, typically with the bigger trailers, and a good old nice hitch right there when you need it. One big feature you need to have on any truck is, of course, interior lighting for that cargo bed. After all, it gets fairly dark back there, and when things are in place, it may make them hard to find if it's not well lit. But what's great is there's nice LED lighting in the outer corners and up top. Now, what's even better is having power when you need it, and basically Chevy delivers here at the back end in the form of a nice standard household outlet. When it comes to tying your cargo down, you could add some aftermarket features, some rails, some movable parts, but what's great here on the Silverado, well, it's pretty much standard with 3 anchor points on either side here by the tailgate and 3 on each side closer to the cab. I've always stated that the vehicle shouldn't work the driver should work the vehicle. What I'm referring to, well, it should just be simple, easy, and relaxing to climb behind the wheel. And well, the truck industry has heard probably me say that, and well, is delivering. And it all starts with the access point. Now, what's great is trucks are getting smart, and it all starts with the smart key system, pretty much keeping in your pocket and forget about it. No more fiddling around with the key, which is great because we're always typically showing up with stuff in our arms. Now, what's great is the Silverado delivers access points at every door. And what I'm referring to is simply this button right here. If you press it here, unlocks with ease. Press it again, locks up. Other vehicles are falling short when it comes to the second row. If I come up here, have things in my hand, I want to put them here, obviously not in the front. Well, what's great is I can bump it with my elbow, opens up with ease, no problem. That just makes ingress so much simpler. When it comes to security of this vehicle, it's really easy, of course, with the press button, the key fob, whatever, but one Achilles heel is the fill up. Now it starts with this huge oversized hatch, but unfortunately there's no lockability. Pretty much there, accessible all the time. I'd prefer this to be locked when the vehicle is locked and, well, unlocked just the same. But basically once you open it up, what you will notice is a capless system. Just makes it one less step at the fill up area. The biggest shock may have came with the change under the hood. Not a V6, well, far from a V8, but specifically a 2.7 liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. Now that's interesting because a vehicle this big, well, I just assumed, well, the engine would be coupled just the same. Now, most surprising was what it delivered. Now, it delivered about 310 horses and 348 foot-pounds of torque, and it really delivered kind of a quiet run. That versus some other big engines that just deliver likewise noise. This delivered a little bit more refinement, and well, that's just the name of this game. Now the 2.7 is coupled to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now if you do want to opt for some standard powerhouse here, you can go with a 4.3 liter V6 that delivers 285 horses, 305 foot-pounds of torque, or again, you could go with a 5.3 liter V8, which is going to be more traditional for some of the people that prefer a little bit more, well, robustness under the hood. That's going to have 355 horses and 383 foot-pounds of torque. Lastly is the 6.2 liter V8, which is a whopping 420 horses and 460 foot-pounds of torque. The refinement on the outside only hinted at the refinement that waited inside, and it starts with the leather appointment plus the overall interior changes. Now, first off, for the LT, you're going to find nice leather captain chairs up front, leather bench styling in the second row. Now, when it comes to legroom numbers here on the double cab, what you're going to have is around about 45 inches up front, pretty much standard across all three models, around about 35 inches for the second row. Now, if you do opt for the crew cab, legroom numbers will be about equal, around about 43 inches in the second row. For my older model Chevy Tahoe, one feature I truly like is the ability to have 3 passengers across the front. And what's really great about that is it really gives you a 3+3 design, giving you room enough for 6 people versus taking it up with a huge center console. Now, what's great on this particular LT is they deliver that both in the form of a nice center console. You'll see it with a nice oversized hatch here and some storage features here on the lid itself. Dual cup holders up here, as well as nice little niches to keep certain items. But once you lay all that flat, this can easily transform into an additional seat. This really giving you the best of both worlds. With the center console up, one thing you'll also notice is there's kind of this extra storage down below, and that's really helpful to maybe put some items away that you want to secure that really no one else can be able to find, because it also is lockable. You could have just one glove compartment, but why not have 2? Because, well, they just need to have different things in them. Now, down below is going to be a nice place to keep your traditional things like registration, the information along with the vehicle. Up top, a little bit more shallow, but you could put maybe some electronics, some other gear that you just want to get out when you get to a job site. Sweeping across the dash, you'll find this kind of upper little storage area, this nice little tray. I found it helpful to put my sunglasses, maybe some writing utensils up here. Really makes them nice where you need them. Now down below, you'll find the nice entertainment touchscreen system, and GM really has made this really a point of innovation, and where it starts is just the overall design. First, huge touchscreen system, minimizing buttons. Something really touchscreens are allowing vehicles to do is get rid of all the various buttons that go with it and put everything in this area. Now, what I like is if you get lost, simply press the home button. This gives you all the various functionality, and then you can kind of dive in to the specific settings. Even better is it's very innovative, colorful, of course, and provides lots of detail and information. Now, while there's minimal buttons up there with the entertainment system, well, that's not such the case as you sweep down. First off, with the climate control dual zones up front, real easy navigation. I like the fact they went with a nice simple knob for fan speed, a lot easier to locate without looking versus some little small buttons. All the various mode selects all the way around. Now, what you also see is a lot of buttons down here below. Now, what you'll see is the parking sensor turning on and off. This does have an auto start, auto stop feature for the engine, but what I like is they do allow you to turn that off, allowing the vehicle to kind of always be running. Some GM models are getting rid of this button. I hope that they keep with it when it comes to the trucks. Also, you also have the power release for the rear tailgate, nice feature, and again, that's because they're making everything more electronic. Simply press that, it lowers with ease. Looking a little bit lower, you're going to find nice connections here with the USB-C, USB traditional outlet here as well, and another household outlet, basically giving you a whole bunch of connection points. For the gauge cluster, going to be pretty much a standard analog tach and speedometer, but it has a nice digital readout, most specifically for the digital readout for the speedometer. One of the best features I look for, and thankfully, it's right there in the middle. On the steering wheel, you're going to find simple controls for that LCD screen on the gauge cluster. It really allows you to toggle up and down on various menus, various selections here, left and right. Real easy to use. Now on the left side, going to be most specific for your cruise control, but there is a nice heated steering wheel button there. Huge bank of options there on the left side of the dash, real easy to figure out what they do. All your four-wheel drive up here at the top, as well as kind of your mode select when it comes to driving. This little race flag is going to give you a little bit more spunk in the driving, as well as your towability here on the left side, cargo light, and some other functions. Looking at the second row, you can see that's a little bit compromised when it comes to knee space, again about 35 inches, but what I found is it really held most individuals with ease. But what's even better in trucks, well, there's just no center divide like you're going to find in a sedan. Real easy for everyone to find enough room for their feet. When it's raining, one thing you want to do is definitely bring all your gear inside, and what's helpful with that is transforming from people to cargo, kind of this 80-20 split. Now it's really easy, kind of a one-hand operation. Simply pull up the seat bottom, and that's going to give you a little bit more access. However, it's not traditional in the sense of a flat flooring. So when it comes to putting maybe items all the way across, you're going to kind of find this little area right here to make it, well, break up the space. Due to the fact that there's a seat in the center area and not a traditional center console, that means the air vents are going to be tucked a little bit lower. But what you also find down here are USB connections and a power supply. There's no center armrest to speak of here in the second row. So when it comes to drink holders, what you're going to have to do is really rely on the door area in the form of a nice little niche for a cup. What's great is, though, there's a lot of vertical height here, taking almost any size drink. And that does it for this edition of Road Warrior, a test drive behind the wheel of the all-new 2019 Chevy Silverado, this being the LT edition, and with that came some nice refinements, both when it came to overall new look and specifically that refinement under the hood. Now, I'm not a big fan of necessarily inline four cylinders on a big offering such as this, but when you couple it to a nice turbocharger and one 8-speed automatic transmission, you possibly might be onto something, because after all, there was very little noise to be had, fuel economy to boot, and, well, power, well, when you needed it. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.